Hi, my name is Carrie and I'm 32 years old. A couple of years ago, I went through a divorce. It was a tough experience, but now I feel like I'm in a place where I can talk about it, so here I am. I've always felt like I lived an average life. I wasn't particularly great at anything. I did okay in school, and I was decent at most things I tried, but I never excelled at any of them. You could say I was a jack of all trades, master of none. My looks were pretty average too. I wasn't unattractive, but I wasn't the type to turn heads when I walked into a room. Growing up, I was comfortable with how I looked. I wasn't self-conscious because I'd had a few really handsome boyfriends in high school and college, so my appearance never really bothered me. That all changed when I got into a toxic relationship during my last year of college. At first, my boyfriend seemed nice. I knew he wasn't the one, but I enjoyed his company, so I kept seeing him. As my feelings for him grew, I started ignoring his bad behavior. I was so blinded by love that I didn't realize how much he was hurting my self-esteem. By the time the relationship ended, my confidence was completely shattered. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror without feeling ugly and breaking down in tears. It took me 5 years after college and leaving that boyfriend to start dating again. The person I began seeing was my now ex-husband, Nick. We met at a bar when I was out celebrating a friend's birthday. I wasn't drinking that night because I didn't like how overly confident I got when I was drunk, and I didn't want to embarrass myself. Nick was the one who approached me. "Hey, how's it going?" he asked. "Oh, hello, I'm good, thank you. How about you?" "I'm just enjoying the vibe here. Mind if I join you? Why are you sitting alone?" I needed a break from all the dancing. We're celebrating a friend's birthday. It looks like they're having a blast. They really are. They're all single, by the way, if you're interested. Why go to them when I'm already talking to the most beautiful girl in the world? You must need glasses if you're talking about me. My eyesight's fine. I could have talked to them, but I chose you. Oh. How about this? Give me your number, and tomorrow when we're sober, we'll grab coffee. I like that idea. We exchanged phone numbers and continued chatting until Nick had to leave for work the next day. I felt a warm rush of happiness. No one had ever approached me like that before. In all my past relationships, I was always the one who started the conversation. Nick slowly began to help me overcome my insecurities. The next day we went for coffee, just as Nick had promised. He made me feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. The first thing he said to me wasn't even a hi or how are you. He looked at me in awe and said, "Wow, you're beautiful." I didn't think I could blush, but Nick made my cheeks turn red so often that it looked like I was wearing blush on purpose. We started meeting regularly after that, and soon we were dating. I felt so loved and appreciated. Whenever I was with Nick, everything seemed perfect. After dating for a year, we moved in together, and after 2 years, Nick proposed to me at the coffee shop where we had our first date. I was so happy that I said yes through tears. Our wedding was a small, intimate event with only our closest friends and family. For me, our relationship felt like a dream come true. Over those 2 years, Nick helped rebuild my confidence. He told me I was the prettiest girl in the world so many times that I started to believe it. He made me fall in love with myself again. That's why what happened later was so shocking and heartbreaking for me. During the first 2 years of our marriage, we focused on our careers. I worked at an accounting firm and earned a good salary, nothing extraordinary, but enough to support myself. Nick, on the other hand, worked for a big company and earned 1.5 times what I did. He was always striving for more promotions, and I admired that about him. We both agreed to work hard because we wanted to start a family soon. We stuck to our plan, worked hard, and saved up a good amount of money. When we started trying for a baby, I got pregnant within 2 months. Nick and I were overjoyed. I felt like I was living my dream life. I had my dream job, lived in my dream house, was married to my dream man, and was about to have my dream baby. It felt like I had everything I ever wanted. Of course, I was nervous about becoming a parent for the first time. One night, after a tough day at work, Nick and I lay in bed and talked about our fears. "You know, babe, sometimes I get scared thinking about being a mom," I admitted. "It's just overwhelming to imagine being responsible for another life." "I feel the same way," Nick said. "The thought of accidentally hurting our child terrifies me. One small mistake could mess them up for life." Definitely, I agreed. But kids are resilient. They're not as delicate as we think, and being scared of messing up just shows that we'll be careful and make things right when we do make mistakes. You're right, Nick said. When I think back, my father was absent a lot. It left a void that nothing could fill. I don't want that for our child. You won't, I assured him. I'll be right there with you through everything. We'll learn and grow together, and I'll hold you accountable, just as I expect you to hold me. I promise to always be there with you, my love. How did I get so lucky with you? Nick asked. The feeling is mutual, babe, I replied. We're in this together no matter what. We'll be the best parents we can be. Even though I was terrified, knowing that Nick would be by my side comforted me greatly. I was certain that no matter what challenges came our way, he would be there for me. But I was so wrong. A couple of months after that conversation, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, and we named him Joe. The first few weeks with Joe were incredibly hard. He was a fussy baby who never slept at night. Nick and I took turns staying awake, and the lack of sleep started to wear us both down. We became cranky and irritable. To make matters worse, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression, PPD, so I struggled every day. I could barely get out of bed. Nick had to take care of most things: baby Joe, the household chores, and the cooking. I did what I could, but my mind felt like it was in a fog all the time. The only thing that seemed to help was lying in bed and crying. I tried to care for Joe when Nick was at work, but as soon as he got home, I would gladly hand Joe over to him. My PPD made it impossible for me to keep my job, so I had to resign and focus on coping with my illness. One day, after a tough day at work, Nick came home and lashed out at me. I couldn't get Joe to stop crying, and he said, "Why can't you do better as a mother? All you do is sit around." "What are you talking about?" I replied. "I'm fine with quitting my job, but I'm supposed to take care of Joe. If you can't even manage that, what's the point? You know I have postpartum depression," I cried. "How long will you use that as an excuse?" he snapped. "Do you think I'd lie about something this serious?" I asked. "Look at me. Do I seem like I'm enjoying any of this? Every day is a struggle, and it physically hurts not being able to care for Joe. I wish I could do more, but I can't." "I had a tough day at work too," Nick said, his tone softening. "My boss is pushing hard and I'm on the edge, balancing it all, work and Joe. It's overwhelming." "I get it, babe," I said, trying to calm things down. "It's not easy. I'll try harder, do more, so you don't have to carry it all." No, I'll manage," Nick replied. "It's been 6 months since Joe's birth. I need to take my role seriously and support you. I don't want you to strain yourself. I'll handle things." "I want to do my part, babe," I said, "for Joe and for us. We're a team, right?" "Yeah, we are," Nick agreed. "We'll figure it out together." Even though I was terrified, knowing that Nick would be by my side comforted me greatly. I was certain that no matter what challenges came our way, he would be there for me, but I was so wrong. I started pushing myself to fight through the fog in my mind. I took care of everything around the house while looking after Joe. The only thing that comforted me was food, which is why I gained about 30 pounds. I didn't have the time or energy to work off all the food I was eating. I began to notice that Nick was spending less and less time at home. He still did his share of the responsibilities, but he was always working late. When he came home, he was too exhausted to talk to me or spend time with me. It hurt a lot because I was already struggling, and the one person who was supposed to be my support wasn't there for me. Every time I asked Nick why he was away so much, he said he was working towards a promotion for us. I just wanted one night with him, but he never seemed to want that. Even on weekends, he would lock himself in his office and work. Over time, I stopped asking and got used to his absence. One day, Nick surprised me by asking me to go with him to a work dinner. I was so excited that he was finally taking me out, so I went shopping and bought a nice dress. I got dressed up, dropped Joe off at my mom's place for the night, and expected a compliment from Nick, but Nick didn't say anything. I let it go, hoping the event would lift his spirits. At the dinner, I met a lot of Nick's colleagues, including his boss, Amelia. She wore a tight red gown that highlighted her figure and looked gorgeous. She approached us confidently with a pretty smile and greeted us with kisses on the cheek. "Hey, I'm Amelia. Are you Nick's wife?" "Yes, I am. My name's Carrie." I thought so. I've heard so much about you. I hope most of it is good. Oh, definitely. You're quite the topic. Sorry for keeping Nick buried in work. I know he'd rather be with his pretty wife. Well, you better get him that promotion then. Oh, believe me, he's very close to getting one. That was good to hear, but the whole time, Nick just looked at the ground. He wouldn't talk to anyone when I was with him, but as soon as he left me to socialize on his own, he was open and laughing. It hurt. By the time the event ended, I was beyond upset, but I didn't bring it up because Nick didn't seem like he wanted to talk. When Joe turned a year old, he was a lot less fussy than when he was a newborn, so I had a little more free time. I decided to start looking for work, nothing too big, just something with flexible hours. After applying to a bunch of places, I finally got a job as a content writer. I was paid per article and could submit as many as I wanted, whenever I wanted. It was the perfect job. I excitedly told Nick about it that night at dinner, but he just grunted and gave me a half-hearted congrats. I didn't know why I expected him to be excited or happy for me. It hurt how little he cared, and I cried myself to sleep that night. After that, I kept myself busy with Joe, the chores, and my work. I began to feel better, and the fog started to lift, but there was still a huge hole in my heart that only Nick could fill. One morning, I missed him too much. After putting Joe to sleep, I walked into Nick's office. He wasn't home, but since he spent most of his time in that office, it had become his second room. I wanted to be close to him, so I sat in his office chair, closed my eyes, and took in his scent. When I opened my eyes, I looked at his desk and couldn't help my curiosity. I wanted to know what he did in his office all day. That's when I stumbled upon a manila file that looked out of place among the loose papers in the drawer. I picked it up and looked inside. To my absolute horror, I saw divorce papers. Nick had already signed them. The only space left blank was where I was supposed to sign. My heart shattered. I knew things weren't perfect between us, but I didn't think they were this bad. I still loved Nick, despite his absence. I thought he was just stressed about work and raising a child, but asking for a divorce was too much. I knew I had been difficult to deal with after giving birth to Joe, but I was really sick. There were many things I could have done differently, but at the same time, I felt like I couldn't have done anything. I sat in his office and cried for so long that when Nick came home, he looked surprised to see me sitting there. He saw the file on the table and realized that I had found out. "Nick, I need to know why," I said, my voice trembling. He looked down, avoiding my gaze, and quietly said, "Because I felt like the spark had faded." "Don't lie to me," I demanded. I thought if we were married, Nick would talk to me instead of just walking away, so I asked him, "Do you really want to tell me the truth?" He said, "Yes, for months I've been seeing someone, my boss, Amelia." I was shocked and asked, "How could you?" Nick explained that they spent many late nights at work together, and it just happened. Plus, she was very attractive. I asked, "Why would you do this to me?" Nick responded, "Look at yourself. I could overlook being poor, but you're not attractive anymore. You're so fat and ugly. Pregnancy ruined you. I regret getting you pregnant." I was heartbroken and asked, "How can you regret your own son?" Nick coldly replied, "I'd rather have a hot wife than a son. Sign the papers, I'm marrying Amelia." I was furious and told him he was heartless. I thought he loved us, loved me. But he said, "Things change, Carrie." In that moment, something came over me. I went to our room, packed his things, threw his bag at him, and told him to get out. I also said I would contest the divorce. Without a word, Nick left. I cried the whole night, wondering how he could do this to me and Joe. My sadness turned to anger. I wondered if Nick and Amelia had been having an affair when I went to that business dinner party. Is that what she meant when she said he would get a promotion? I wanted to break something but instead took deep breaths, pulled out my laptop, and looked up Amelia. I found out she was married too. I didn't have proof, but I messaged her husband on Facebook, telling him what I found out. I hoped something would happen and that Nick and Amelia would face consequences. The next morning I forced myself not to look at my phone and focused on taking care of Joe and working. I needed to earn money to afford a lawyer. In the afternoon, I had a visitor. Amelia's husband, Jerry. He looked like he hadn't slept. He awkwardly asked if he could come in, and I let him. We sat in a living room, and he asked how I was holding up. I said I was okay, just trying to wrap my head around everything. Jerry said, "Yeah, I know what you mean. This whole situation is a mess. So why did you come over?" He explained that after my text, he and Amelia had a massive fight. He came over partly to get out of his place and partly to suggest that we get revenge on them together. "Revenge?" I asked. Jerry explained. "They both hurt us deeply. Maybe we can give them a taste of their own medicine." I agree, saying, "Nick not only betrayed me, but he also hurt our son. I'm with you on that. They need to understand the pain they caused." So we started planning. Jerry knew people in high positions at Amelia and Nick's company. He was the one who recommended Amelia for the job in the first place. Meanwhile, we tried to collect evidence of the affair. Jerry had access to all of Amelia's messages because her phone was synced with their iPad. He also helped me get a great lawyer. The next few weeks were hectic. We went to court for the divorce. Thanks to my lawyer, who presented a strong case of neglect, I had the judge's favor. During the trial, Jerry and I moved to the next phase of our plan. He contacted his friends at the company and informed them of Amelia's misconduct. Within a few days, both Nick and Amelia were fired. With proof of Nick's neglect and his unemployment, I won the case and got full custody of Joe. I also got more than half of our marital assets, making me financially stable. Nick and Amelia found out what Jerry and I had done, and they tried to contact us, leaving messages and emails, but we ignored them. Jerry and I started hanging out a lot after this ordeal, bonding over our heartbreak and betrayal. Eventually, we realized we have feelings for each other. Nick's constant neglect made me lose my love for him, and his actions sealed the deal. Jerry and I started dating a year after everything happened, and we still are to this day. He's great with Joe and has accepted him as his own son. A year and a half after Jerry and I started dating, Nick reached out to me. He had stopped trying to contact me 2 months after the court hearing since I never replied. He asked if we could meet at a cafe near my place. After discussing it with Jerry, I agreed. When I saw Nick, he looked haggard, like he hadn't been sleeping or eating. I have to admit, it felt satisfying to see him like that. He asked, "What's up?" "Make it quick. Jerry's waiting for me outside." "Jerry? Why is he waiting for you?" he asked. "Oh, we're together," I replied. Nick got angry and said, "You got mad at me for sleeping with my boss, and here you are sleeping with her ex-husband." I calmly explained, "Jerry and I got together after what you and Amelia did. Our relationship was completely over when Jerry and I started dating. It's very different from what you did. Is this why you called me?" Nick looked embarrassed and said, "This is really embarrassing, but Amelia and I are pregnant and we're struggling a lot financially. It's putting a strain on our relationship. Do you think you could help me out a little?" I was shocked and replied, "Are you out of your mind? It's embarrassing that you're asking your ex-wife to lend you money to support your affair partner's baby. You're pathetic, Nick. Never contact me again." I couldn't believe his audacity. I walked out of that cafe with my head held high, feeling beyond satisfied. I had a loving boyfriend, an amazing son, and a good job that paid well, thanks to Jerry. I didn't know what happened to Nick and Amelia, and I didn't care. I was happy with my life and decided to put the past behind me. This whole experience prompted me to reinvent myself, and now I'm a completely different and better person. Thank you for listening to my story.